Vidyamati, you were ready, Mati?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, you can start, Mati, whenever you're ready with prayers.
Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Namaram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamuriraye Nashta Pareshya Bhareshu Nityam Bhagavati Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamasloke Bhakti Bhavati Naisteki. Today we are reading from Canto 2, Chapter 4, The Process of Creation. Text 1. Sutta Goswami said, Maharaj Parikshit, the son of Uttara, after hearing the speeches of Sukadev Goswami, which were all about the truth of the self, applied his concentration faithfully upon Lord Krishna. 2. Maharaj Parikshit, as a result of his wholehearted attraction for Lord Krishna, was able to give up all deep-rooted affection for his personal body, his wife, his children, his palace, his animals like horses and elephants, his treasury house, his friends and relatives, and his undisputed kingdom. Text 3 and 4. O great sages, the great soul Maharaj Parikshit, constantly wrapped in thought of Lord Krishna, knowing well of his imminent death, renounced all sorts of fruitive activities, namely acts of religion, economic development, and sense gratification, and thus fixed himself firmly in his natural love for Krishna and asked all these questions exactly as you are asking me. Text 5. Maharaj Parikshit said, O learned Brahmana, you know everything because you are without material contamination. Therefore, whatever you have spoken to me appears perfectly right. Your speeches are gradually destroying the darkness of my ignorance, for you are narrating the topics of the Lord. Text 6. I beg to know from you how the personality of Godhead, by his personal energies, created these phenomenal universes as they are, which are inconceivable even to the great demigods. Text 7. Kindly describe how the Supreme Lord, who is all-powerful, engages his different energies and different expansions in maintaining and again winding up the phenomenal world in the sporting spirit of a player. Text 8. O learned Brahmana, the transcendental activities of the Lord are all wonderful, and they appear inconceivable because even great endeavors by many learned scholars have still proved insufficient for understanding them. Text 9. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is one. Whether he alone acts with the modes of material nature or simultaneously expands in many forms, or expands consecutively to direct the modes of nature. Text 10. Kindly clear up all these doubtful inquiries, because you are not only vastly learned in the Vedic literatures and self-realized in transcendence, but are also a great devotee of the Lord and are therefore as good as the personality of Godhead. Text 11. Sutta Goswami said, when Sukadev Goswami was thus requested by the king to describe the creative energy of the personality of Godhead, he then systematically remembered the master of the senses, Sri Krishna, and to reply properly, he spoke thus. Text 12. Sukadev Goswami said, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who, for the creation of the material world, accept the three modes of nature. He is the complete whole residing within the body of everyone, and his ways are inconceivable. Text 13. I again offer my respectful obeisances unto the form of complete existence and transcendence, who is the liberator of the pious devotees from all distresses and the destroyer of the further advances in atheist atheistic temperament of the non-devotee demons. For the transcendentalists who are situated in the topmost spiritual perfection, he grants their specific destinations. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mati. Hare Krishna. So we'll discuss the brief context and then storyline, and then dive into each of the verses in detail. Yeah. So basically, we are starting the fourth chapter of the second canto. The chapter is entitled "Process of Creation." So this chapter lays the foundation work in asking questions about the creation, but the actual creation starts in the next chapter, even though the title is like that. So going to the beginning of the second canto, the first three chapters are mainly dealing with one main topic, which is Sukadeva Goswami is personally establishing to Maharaj Parishit and all the sages assembled there in the assembly, along with Maharaj Parishit, one main point. What is that? That topmost thing is topmost process for perfection is Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is the only means where we can achieve the lotus feet of Krishna in the spiritual world. So that is the main point is establishing in the first three chapters. For that we saw how he described initially Bhakti Yoga is the topmost he described, and then by seeing the audience, how there are people inclined to different paths of yoga, he contrasted with Ashtanga Yoga, how some people worship, meditate on Virat Rupa, those who are not attached, those who are not so detached and still attached yogis, they meditate on Virat Rupa, and then how some yogis meditate on Paramatma like that. He contrasted with Ashtanga Yoga, and then he contrasted with how Karma Kanda processes or demigod worship, how they're not superior to Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is the only path where it can give the highest goal, ultimate perfection, because other paths can only take somebody to a lower extent. Like some things can, for example, Gnana Yoga can have what detachment, but then they need to mix with bhakti to attain even the goal of Gnana Yoga, merging with Supreme also, Supreme Brahman also. So like that, he explained how Bhakti Yoga is the topmost. And then in the last few verses of the third chapter, we heard how whether we have full desires or whether we have no desires at all, or whether we are desiring liberation, then the only thing to do is worship Supreme Lord in bhakti. The kama, sarva kama, moksha kama, udaradi, that verse like that. So that was described. And then through these three chapters, we also heard the emphasis on the importance of association with pure devotee. And we also heard very much emphasized by Sukadeva Goswami to Parishit Maharaj, how chanting and hearing and remembering about Krishna's names, qualities, pastimes is very important, essential, and very helpful for a devotee to progress in bhakti, chanting, hearing, and remembering. And also, he specifically emphasized how chanting of the holy name is essential, foundational element in Krishna bhakti. So now, with that background of Sukadeva Goswami telling Bhakti Yoga is the topmost, chanting and hearing and remembering about Krishna is a foundational, essential activity in bhakti, uh, essential process of bhakti like that. Now the fourth chapter proceeds. In the fourth chapter, remember, originally Bhagavatam started with conversation between Suta Goswami and the sages of Naimisharanya. Within that conversation, now second canto started with Sukadeva Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj conversation. So first three chapters describe about Parikshit Maharaj and Sukadeva Goswami conversation. And then now we're back to the outer conversation of Suta Goswami and sages of Naimisharanya. Again, we'll go back to Sukadeva Goswami. So Suta Goswami, what is saying in the first verse? He's saying, Maharaj Parishit, after hearing the speeches from Sukadeva Goswami, he applied his concentration faithfully upon Lord Krishna. So the word used in the verse is satim, chaste. So Parikshit Maharaj chastely and faithfully applied his concentration on Lord Krishna only, nothing else. No karmakanda path, no different demigods, no Ashtanga Yoga, nothing like that. Faithfully concentrated upon Lord Sri Krishna is describing. So Prabhupada elaborates on purport few things. One is the whole Vedic knowledge is getting us to understand about Krishna, the focus on Krishna. So Vedesha Sarver Ahmeva Vedya, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says personally. So whole purpose of Vedas is to understand Krishna like that. That is one point Prabhupada is making by referring to Bhagavad Gita 15.15. And then Prabhupada is making the point, how come Parikshit Maharaj is chaste and faithfully concentrating on Krishna? There are two things, two attributes Prabhupada is describing about him. One is, from the childhood, he had the good fortune of receiving the mercy of Krishna, because when he was in the womb of his mother, Uttara, Lord Krishna personally protected him from the Brahmastra released by Aswadama. So that's how he received the mercy of Krishna. And from that time, he was focused on remembering Krishna. That is one point Prabhupada is making here. And then, and that was possible because he was born in the family of devotees also. That means that is one important element, that is very helpful element for somebody to practice devotion service. Prabhupada is saying, somebody to become pure devotee, two elements are important. One is to be born in a family of devotees. Second element Prabhupada is describing is blessings of a bona fide spiritual master. So in case of Parikshit Maharaj, he had both the factors. One is he was born in the family of devotees, which are Pandavas, and then and especially received mercy of Krishna when he protected him. And second aspect is now in the form of Sukadeva Goswami, he received the blessings of spiritual master. Who is Sukadeva Goswami? He is describing Bhagavatam to him, Parikshit Maharaj, directly. So through that he received the blessings by hearing from the spiritual master. So Prabhupada is indicating from the Chaitanya Charitamrita also that a fortunate person, uh, by the mercy of spiritual master and Lord Krishna, can achieve the path of devotion service like that. So basically, how do we get the blessings from spiritual master? One of the key way to get blessings from spiritual master is by hearing from him. So that is why so Parishad Maharaj, by the blessings of spiritual master, by hearing from him, Sukadeva Goswami, he was able to concentrate his mind on Krishna. That's the point for us. So that means we should take inspiration from this to hear from our spiritual master regularly, every day. So that way we can also receive the blessings. And hearing does not conclude, oh, I heard this, check mark done. Hearing concludes when we contemplate on the subject matter we heard and understand and contemplate on how we can apply that what we heard in our practical life. That's how we can receive the blessings and mercy of our spiritual master. So that was the first verse where Parishad Maharaj is fully focused on Krishna because he receives the blessings of Krishna, mercy of Krishna, and also because he received the blessings of the spiritual master Sukadeva Goswami by his sincere hearing regularly. Now going to the text 2. So Sukadeva Goswami is still describing what was the condition of Maharaj Parishit. So Maharaj Parishit was wholeheartedly attracted to Krishna. And how he got that attraction to Krishna? By hearing from Sukadeva Goswami. So by wholehearted, because of that hearing, he got attraction to Krishna. Because of that attraction to Krishna, you pay attention to the sequence. By hearing from spiritual master, he got attraction to Krishna. And because he was attracted to Krishna, he was able to give up deep-rooted affection for material things like personal body, his wife, children, palace, animals, treasury house, friends and relatives, and his undisputed kingdom also. So generally, to become liberated means, Prabhupada's writing, to become free from Dehatma Buddhi. That means illusory attachment of personal body and everything connected to the body. So that detachment for material things comes from attraction to Krishna. And that attraction to Krishna comes from hearing from bona fide sources like bona fide spiritual master and sadhus. So that's what is the main thing we can take from this verse. Prabhupada is elaborating in the purport about these different things mentioned, that how the material affection becomes more and more and more and more, like the material attachment becomes more and more. Some people get attached to the body because they're thinking they're the body, and then they get they get married and they get attached to their spouse, wife or husband, and then to lead the family life, they develop children, they grow children, so that way they give pleasure to them, and then naturally to maintain the family they acquire a big home or a palace like this is described here, and then to move about. In this verse is describing animals like horses and elephants. Prabhupada is saying those were used for conveyance in the olden days for transportation. Now we have cars instead, so we acquire cars, and then we acquire bank balance to have security for our family to live properly in the future. So we acquire more and more bank balance, and then to show off whatever we have, we maintain good relations with friends and relatives, and then also um, to maintain the status quo, we keep on working like that. That's what Prabhupada is explaining how the material attachment works. So now, how does a practicing devotee deal with these things? Practicing devotee is not advised to leave the family life. Practicing devotee is advised to continue the family life and take care of the family responsibilities nicely. But while taking family responsibilities nicely, he should also cultivate the spirituality in parallel to that. And not only he cultivates himself, but he helps the family members also to cultivate the spiritual realization. That is what is encouraged. Not the opposite is just thinking that taking care of the family is the ultimate goal of life. Not just stick with that only. While taking care of the family responsibilities nicely, eh, cultivate spirituality also. And this is the proper detachment cultivation. Another point Prabhupada is highlighting is that we should engage the family in service of Krishna. Whatever we have, we should engage in service of Krishna, not just leave everything like that. We should engage everything in service of Krishna. That way we'll become detached and purified also. So the point here from this verse we got is, by hearing from the bona fide spiritual master, we develop sufficient attraction to Krishna, and because of that attraction, we develop the detachment for material things. So it's not that first we need to get away from everything and then we can develop attraction for Krishna. Not like that. We need to first practice positive cultivation of attraction to Krishna by hearing from spiritual master and applying principles in our life. Through that, we'll develop detachment. Now going to the third and fourth verses. So Parikshit Maharaj, Sudha Goswami is still describing how Parikshit Maharaj was constantly wrapped in thought of Lord Sri Krishna, and knowing that he's going to die very soon because of the curse to die in 7 days, he renounced all sorts of fruitive activities, which are dharma, artha, kama, religion, economic development, and sense gratification. He renounced all the fruitive activities, it seems. And he thus fixed firmly in his natural love for Krishna and asked all these questions exactly as you are asking me. So Sutta Goswami is telling, like you are asking questions to me, Sukadeva Goswami, Parishit Maharaj also asked questions to Sukadeva Goswami. After renouncing everything, especially all the fruitive activities, and firmly being fixed in his love for Krishna, is saying. In the purport, Prabhupada is indicating that how, because of association with Sukadeva Goswami, Parikshit Maharaj could perfectly understand Lord Krishna is everything. And that is why he abandoned Krishna instead of doing little bit of karma kanda, little bit of demigod worship, not like that. He's perfectly fixed in Krishna's worship like that. And then he's describing how devotee's position is greater than karmis and gnanis. So he describes here When somebody understands, oh, karma kanda activities, I do this worship to get something, that is not all in all, then they become a gnani, like that he describes. And out of so many gnanis who are practicing Gnana Yoga, some become liberated. And one such person, out of hundreds of liberated persons, if one person fixes his mind on Krishna, such person is the greatest person as a devotee. Parikshit Maharaj is already at that stage, like that Prabhupada is indicating to us. And Prabhupada is also quoting Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Rupa Goswami, and Madhavendra Puri to indicate how engaging in bhakti is the topmost, like that, instead of any other activities that we can choose among the Vedic wisdom also. So, so that means Paras Maharaj was perfectly right when he firmly accepted lotus feet of Lord Krishna, renouncing all karmakandiya conceptions of life. Now going to the text 5, this starts with, so now first four texts we heard how Suta Goswami is describing Parikshit Maharaj. After hearing from Sukadeva Goswami, he got attracted to Krishna and he got detached from material things, and then he firmly situated in Krishna. That's what we heard so far. Okay. Now, after that, what did Parikshit Maharaj do? What did Parikshit Maharaj ask is what is being described now. Text 5. Parikshit Maharaj is speaking this from this verse onwards. He's saying, you know everything. Who is he talking to? Sukadeva Goswami. You know everything because you are without material contamination. You are anaga. Anaga is also means sinless, also it's translated sometimes, because aga means sin. You are sinless and you are without any material contamination. Therefore, whatever you have spoken to me appears perfectly right because it's pure. And then your speeches are gradually destroying the darkness of my ignorance. He's saying my ignorance is going away by hearing from you because you are a pure devotee. And because you are narrating Krishna Katha, because you are pure devotee, and also because you are narrating Krishna Katha, that's why my ignorance is getting destroyed. Like that is starting Parikshit Maharaj. That means he's telling his practical experience, that is experiencing purity, is experiencing that is getting purified, is experiencing that his ignorance is going away, like that. Prabhupada highlights that point in the purport, that the practical experience of Maharaj Parishit after hearing Krishna Katha is being described here. That especially when we hear from a sincere, pure devotee, we can also experience the same in our life, like that, by hearing messages about Krishna. And by us hearing sincerely, we can experience the gradual disappearance of ignorance and gradual appearance of enlightenment in our life also. That is a proof that this process is working. That's what Prabhupada explains. Somebody is very hungry when they eat food. They can experience the hunger is going away. They can experience the strength and they're feeling nourishment also. Similarly, as we practice bhakti by hearing Krishna Katha, so we can also experience the positive enlightenment and removal of ignorance, like that Prabhupada is writing in the purport. Now text 6. Parikshit Maharaj, after indicating his practical experience, what is happening while hearing from Sukadeva Goswami, now he starts to ask the questions. What kind of questions he asks? He says, I beg to know from you. I beg to know from you. He's in a humble mode. He's not saying, please tell me this, please tell me that. He's telling, I beg to know from you how Krishna, by his personal energies, creates these universes, material universes, as they are, which are inconceivable even to the great demigods also. So they are very hard to understand for even great demigods also. How does Krishna creates with all these energies? Can you please tell me? Like that is asking. So Prabhupada is writing on purport. It's very important for us also, by taking the example of Parikshit Maharaj, to inquire from our spiritual master, whether it's Diksha Guru or Siksha Guru, whenever we don't know some subject related to spiritual matter. It's important for us to inquire from our spiritual master. That is one example lesson Prabhupada is saying. Important lesson we need to learn. Number one. Number two, Prabhupada is drawing our attention to Parikshit Maharaj already knows that Supreme Lord is the creator and Supreme Lord is creating with his energies, like that. And foolish people think that there's no creator. Everything came by chance, like that. So that is not a right theory. Prabhupada is emphasizing that point by giving two examples. One example is electricity. Somebody may say, oh, electricity just came to our home. And then we're able to use computer, light bulbs, cooking and everything we are able to do. But intelligent person knows electricity is generated by superintendent engineer who is in the powerhouse, who is helping to generate the electricity by designing the system, by actually working with water and natural resources that Krishna has given us. And then only, only under his supervision, the electricity is being distributed. That means there's a person. Similarly, for the creation also, there's a creator like that. That's one example Prabhupada is giving. Second example Prabhupada gives is a small child may see an electronics car moving around and he thinks that, or even a real car moving around, he might think that, oh, car is wonderful, it's going by itself. But an intelligent adult knows that there's a driver in the car who is moving, or if it's an automated car toy, somebody did the key for the car so that way it can move like that. He knows that. That means there's a creator behind the creation. That is the point Prabhupada is describing. An intelligent devotee also can understand this from Vedic scriptures like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, that there's a creator behind this creation. Whereas ordinary scholars may not understand that. So Prabhupada also is quoting Brahma Samhita to indicate how Lord Brahmaji, who is the topmost person, first created being in this material world, he also asserts how Krishna is the supreme cause of all causes. There may be different demigods like Brahma, Shiva. They all may be certain can be God, but supreme Godhead is Krishna, like that Prabhupada is emphasizing in the purport. So now Prabhupada emphasizes another aspect. Why is Parishit Maharaj asking about material creation? We could have asked, can you tell me about Krishna's Leelas in Vrindavan? How did Krishna lift Govardhan Hill? How did Krishna perform Rasa Leela? Why is he asking about that? Prabhupada tells about this in this purport and then in later purport also. He's telling that Parishit Maharaj is considering that I want to first hear about the greatness of Krishna. I want to first hear how Krishna using his material energies, how he created this material world. First, I want to hear the greatness. Then I will ask him about the sweetness of Krishna, the sweet pastimes of Krishna that are conducted in his internal energy, like that. Chit Shakti, by his Chit Shakti. First, let me ask about what Krishna does with his Maya Shakti, external energy, like that. That's way. And so that what is the lesson for us? That instead of jumping to Krishna's Rasalila pastimes or pastimes in internal lila, we should understand the greatness of Krishna by studying Srimad Bhagavatam systematically, how the creation happened. Because the next topics coming up are creation. They're a little bit theoretical, little bit difficult to understand. But still, we should understand the essence of those things. That Krishna is so great. He is the one who created everything like that. So that's what Prabhupada is emphasizing in the purport for us. So then, coming to the next verse, 7th verse. In the 7th verse, Parishit Maharaj is continuing with the question. He is saying, kindly describe about Krishna, who is all powerful and who engages his different energies and different expansions. In previous verse, he asked about creation. Now he's asking, how does Krishna maintains with his energies, this material world, and how does he wind up the phenomenal world as in the sporting spirit of a player like that? So Prabhupada is writing in purport that Krishna is maintaining the living being, whether it's in material world or spiritual world. So he's the ultimate maintainer. And also Prabhupada is emphasizing the Achinta Beda Beda Tattva, the philosophy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who emphasized that Krishna and his energies are simultaneously different and also non-different. Because Krishna, through his energies, is doing everything. In that sense, energies are representation of Krishna only. In that sense, Krishna is non-different from his energies. Energies are not different from Krishna. However, Krishna is existing separately in the spiritual world, enjoying his pastimes, while the energies are doing their business in the material world. So in that sense, Krishna is different also. That is the Achinta Beda Beda Tattva. Prabhupada is explaining the purport. Going to text 8, Parishit Maharaj is continuing to ask the questions. He's saying, the transcendental activities of the Lord are all wonderful and they appear inconceivable. Even the great learned scholars cannot understand them, like that is describing. Prabhupada is writing in the purport that yes, great scholars and scientists cannot understand what will happen in this universe itself. How many stars are there? How many planets are there? Um, all the stars they cannot count. Whereas they cannot even understand about the different universes also, like that. There is a specific system to go back to the different universes, as Krishna told in Bhagavad Gita. When you worship demigods, you go to the demigod planets, like that. That's one point Prabhupada is emphasizing purport. Then Sukadeva Goswami, Parishit Maharaj asked Sukadeva Goswami, even though he understands Krishna created it, Krishna created with his energies, Krishna is maintaining with his energies, why is he still asking Sukadeva Goswami? Because Krishna is unlimited. No one can think, I know everything about creation, I know everything about Krishna. We can never say that. Because Krishna is unlimited, we can always know from a spiritual master. Like that, Parishit Maharaj is inquiring from a spiritual master to know about Krishna, like that. Now, text 9, Parishit Maharaj is asking, Supreme Personality of God is one Purusha, Karnavasaya Vishnu. And he alone acts with the three modes of material nature in the primary creation. And he also, for the secondary creation purpose, he expands himself as Gunavataras and Prajapatis so that they can expand further, like that. So he's asking, do they happen simultaneously or they happen one after another, like that? And why is he asking all these questions? Because in the previous chapters, he heard one should chant, hear, and remember Krishna, Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's form, Krishna's nature, like that, right? So now, with these questions are opportunity for hearing Krishna Katha and remembering Krishna. That is why Parishit Maharaj is asking those questions. Now, text 10. He's saying, now somebody may ask, Sukadeva Goswami may ask, why are you asking me? You just told that even great learned persons also cannot understand Krishna. Why are you asking me? Then he's saying, because you're not only learned in Vedic scriptures, you're not only self-realized, but you're also a great devotee of Krishna. Because only devotees, because they are performing bhakti to Krishna, Krishna will give them mercy so they can understand something about Krishna. They can understand about bhakti. Otherwise, great scholars also cannot understand. That's why I'm asking you, he's telling. So, only by engaging in bhakti, we can understand Krishna. That is the point. The purport Prabhupada emphasizes, actually devotee is more powerful than Krishna. Why? Because Krishna gives more mercy to the devotee. He wants to show that devotee is greater than him always. Like example is given in the purport that Rama took the devotee's help to build the bridge, whereas Hanuman could jump over the ocean directly, like that. Like that, that's because of mercy given by Krishna. So similarly, Prabhupada is emphasizing purport that we should approach a bona fide spiritual master to understand about Krishna. That is the point Prabhupada is making in the purport. Now going to text 11. Now after hearing these Parishit Maharaj questions, Sukadeva Goswami starts to respond in this text. He says, before he starts speaking, he first remembers Krishna and then he offers prayers to Krishna. Then he starts. Why is this? This is an important lesson for us. So Sukadeva Goswami is very clear that he's not thinking, oh, I have so much knowledge, I can answer these questions very easily, like that. He's thinking, only if Krishna empowers me, only if Krishna gives me remembrance, only Krishna gives me the right words at the right time, I can answer these questions. Like that is thinking. So even Prabhupada is emphasizing the purport. As practicing devotees, we also understand what are we able to speak, what are we able to do anything is only by the energy of Krishna, by Krishna empowering us. Only then we can act. Then we can be in humble position and we can be in prayerful mood before we start any activity or any service, like that. So now text 12. Sukadeva Goswami, after remembering Krishna, is offering his obeisances to Krishna. he says Krishna accepts the three modes of material nature. That means, and then he resides in everyone as a Paramatma, and his ways are inconceivable, is describing. And the purport, Prabhupada explains how Krishna expands as Purushavasaras, Karnadoksha Vishnu, who creates all these universes, material universes, and then he expands as Garbhodaksha Vishnu, who enters into each universe, and he expands as Shirosha Vishnu, enters in each living being, and atom as Paramatma, and then how Supreme Lord also expands as Gunavataras to be in charge of mode of passion like Lord Brahma, in charge of mode of goodness like Lord Vishnu, in charge of mode of ignorance like Lord Shiva for destruction of the universe. Like that, Krishna is expanding, like that is describing. So the last verse for today, 13th verse, Sukadeva Goswami is offering obeisances, continue to offer obeisances to Krishna, and he says, he is the liberator. Basically, he is kind to all kinds of people. He is the liberator of pious devotees who relieves the distresses from them, and then even non-devotee demons also he protects them. He destroys them so that they don't do further damage to themselves. He kills them. That way, they're not doing further damage, and he gives them liberation like that. And then to topmost Paramamsa devotees, he makes them go back to spiritual world like that. Like that, Krishna is kind to everyone. And Prabhupada is emphasizing the purport that topmost spiritualists are Paramamsa devotees like that. And for them, Krishna is giving them not just liberation, but personal association in spiritual world, so they can always be engaged in devotion service. So those are the main things we heard today. We heard primarily how Parikshit Maharaj, by hearing from his spiritual master, bona fide spiritual master, he developed attraction to Krishna, and through that he developed detachment from material things, and he renounced everything at the end of his life. And then he's inquiring. Now that he heard that he needs to chant, hear, and remember Krishna, he's inquiring from spiritual master to hear about Krishna's activities in relation to the material energy, in relation to material creation, maintenance, and destruction of this material universe. So he's asking the questions, and Sukadeva Goswami humbly and like a nice, wonderful devotee, he's remembering Krishna and is praying to Krishna for the empowerment before he starts to speak. So that's what we heard today. We will continue tomorrow. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Let's offer obeisance to all the devotees of the Lord. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kupasindubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Thank you so much, devotees. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.